Okay, when I was in college, at Wheaton College, I started out as a chemistry major, organic chemistry, because I wanted to be a doctor. My father was a doctor, my mother was a nurse, and back in the 60s, I was really discouraged. They didn't think it was a good profession, that it was very, very difficult. And my father was very smart because he sent me to Italy. And he said, I want you to go to Italy in your junior year for a semester and think about what you really want to do. So, of course, I fell in love with Italy. I fell in love with the Renaissance. I fell in love with Florence, and I changed my major. I came back and I made up all of these courses I had to do while I was studying science. And I became an art history major. My focus, of course, in the 60s in Connecticut and Massachusetts and New York, we were a train ride from New York City, was, of course, very Eurocentric. When you grow up in New England, as you probably know a lot about New England, there's not much happening south of Washington, D.C. that is part of your educational process. So I grew up learning about the Renaissance, about Florence. I actually did my undergraduate paper on the Egyptian obelisks in the United States. So I was very Eurocentric. And then what happened was I got married to a man who lived in Miami, in North Miami, grew up in North Miami. And I came here as a bride right out of college. And it was really culture shock. First of all, Miami itself was not the Miami it is today, but nevertheless, we lived in Coral Gables, and my neighbors were from all over the world, even back in the 60s. And the most fascinating neighbors for me were from diplomatic corps and foreign service people who were from Chile. But I was fascinated when I would walk into their house. Panama was another neighbor. I'd walk into their homes and I would see things that I never had seen before. And here I was, an art history major, and I would look at a beautiful dish from a Maya dish or a cocle dish from Costa Rica or Panama. I'd say, what is this? I had no idea what I was looking at. So one of my neighbors was from Chile, and well, he was an American who was an ambassador in Chile. And he had a fabulous home with a library and a collection of works from the Andes, pre-Columbian art from the Andean regions, especially from Peru, where he had spent a great deal of time. And I remember one day looking at him and saying, what is this? You need to talk to me about this. And he said, no, but you have a library at your disposal. You're going to have to learn on your own. Otherwise, it's not going to mean anything. So I looked at his library. Everything was in Spanish. I did not speak Spanish. My Italian Neapolitan dialect wasn't going to get me anywhere. So I said, oh my gosh, how am I going to read these books? I went to one of the night schools, Miami-Dade night schools, to learn conversational Spanish. I did that for many months. It didn't help me very much either with these books. And so I went to the University of Miami and I said, I want to get a master's degree in pre-Columbian art and I want to study Spanish. Well, they looked at me like, in what? If you want a master's in what? There was no such thing. Absolutely no such thing in the 70s of pre-Columbian art. So I was really determined that I was going to learn about it. So that's how I made the jump from Europe to South America in my interests. It was really my neighborhood and looking at things that I had never, ever seen before.